trying to find a word here. Yeah, we take the oath seriously. I do. I'll tell you one thing. I got elected to the school board in Portsmouth back in 96, 95. For 6 months, you know, we're doing things. We're working very hard on trying to help the students in the school system. About 6 months later, I was at a gymnasium, and something hit. It just came down the back of my. I was kind of. I don't know if it was a fright that, my goodness, these folks, these kids, are counting on us to do the right thing for them. And I think that's when it really hit me. It was really about 6 months later when I was on the school board. But you take that oath, and every day, every night, 24/7, you think about your service to the folks that elected you, and that and the oath that word hopefully one of us will take. I'll take it very seriously, and I would be honored to take it. I've even on my website, I've gone a little bit farther. That I have a bond that I would have make with people here in the 15th district. It's beyond oath. It's a bond between me and you personally. Thank you.
I take that oath very seriously. I say oath that you're privileged enough to represent constituents in Congress. And, obviously, you pledge to stand up for the folks that sent you there, stand up for limited government in the Constitution. That's what support and defend the Constitution means to me. That I believe in the Constitution. That's what true faith and allegiance means to me. And that I'll do my best. I'll, faithfully discharge my duty. So I take that pledge very seriously as a member of the Armed Forces. I've served for 24 years. I'll take that pledge very seriously if I'm honored enough to represent you in Congress, and I'll work hard every day to make you proud. Thank you.
The oath of office. The way I interpret it is to listen. A lot of politicians like to do a lot of talking, and they think they have the answers for everything. But it's really, if you listen to the people, they have more answers. But the thing is that I will guarantee that I will follow Article 1, Section 8 of the Constitution. That is the limiting power of the congressional seat, and I will not take it any further than that. And you can take that to the bank. Also, for the next 2 years, if I'm elected, it won't be communications. I consider it a 24/7 job. My cell phone will be available. It'll be on ring all the time. If you want to get a hold of me, I don't care. I don't want a cliche from Hillary, but the 3 o'clock in the morning thing, you might have to wait till at least 8 in the morning when I'm up and awake, but you'll hear back from me right away.
Thanks, David. The next subject we'll start with Senator Stivers, and it's in regards to taxes. A subject near and dear to all of us, I'm sure. What type of tax system do you think would be ideal? I know we have 80 million words and a ton of tax code. How would you persuade someone to your side? So I guess what we're asking here is, do you have any ideas on any kind of tax reform that would be appropriate? And how would you sell that on Capitol Hill?
Thank you, George. I support a flatter tax system than we have now. I support a more simple tax system than we have now. I support a tax system that closes loopholes. And obviously, that's something that you have to work to convince people of, but you guys all get it. You're about to do your taxes for this year, and you know how complicated it is. If we have a flatter, more simple tax system with less loopholes, it'll be easier for all of us, and we won't have to pay nearly as many people to work for the Internal Revenue Service. So I think it's a system that would make a lot more sense.
David?
Well, there's one thing Steve and I can agree on is that, yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing it a lot flatter myself. Actually, as flat as 0% of the federal income tax. You need to repeal the 16th Amendment of the Constitution. The thing is that we spend nearly $1.2 trillion overseas every year. And the federal government collects $1.2 trillion from individual contributors like yourselves. So you cut spending by $1.2 trillion, you stop spending that money overseas, and you could get rid of the federal income tax. It is possible. The only other thing too is that another possibility too is to have you pay the state revenue department here in Ohio. So that gives power back to the states to see fit how to distribute those federal tax dollars. So then you're in a situation where you have, let's say, the federal government saying, well, let's go back to a time where they said, well, we need to have a drinking age of 21. And so what they do? They threaten to cut funding to the highway system if you didn't comply. So this way, they can hold back the dollars that those federal programs are spending now, and basically you're cutting out the middleman. You're getting rid of the federal government out of it, and you're giving this power back to the states.
John?
Well, if you're a capitalist and you're not a socialist, you kind of think you reduce taxes because it's a tried and proven way to get our economy back working so that people can get back to work. Well, these folks over there in Washington, what they're doing, they're not interested in doing that. We need to reduce our taxes, obviously. We need to reduce, at the same time, reduce the size of federal government. As you've probably been watching on TV. It's grown, I don't know how many hundreds of thousands of more employees that are, it's going to take tax dollars to pay for those folks. The idea is to reduce the taxes, reduce the size of government. There was a fellow I met years ago, his name was Governor Jim Rhodes, back in 1976, somewhere in there. And he was a great guy. But he thought that government worked best when it was on an austerity program. You reduce it, you'll make it work smarter for the people. But basically, you reduce the taxes, reduce the size of the government, and work towards getting federal government tax. We got serious problems with folks, and we need to address these things. We got to get those folks in Washington. We got to get them out of there.
I see we have a fiscal responsibility pledge from Dave Ryan. While we're doing that, have you all signed that? Let me just gather those up at this point. Okay. Slight addendum by you, that's fine. There you go. Thank you. Really, thank you. Thank you very much. Oh, all right. It says earmark reform, transparency, up and down votes. Is earmark reform, so I think that's good. All right. Let's continue on. Healthcare. I don't think there's anybody in this room that they've been brushed up against the health delivery system doesn't agree that we have the best in the world, but we have a cost problem. And so I think the language and rhetoric is about reforming the delivery system when it's not all that, in fact, it's pretty good, but the cost is the real, and I don't see anything happening on that scene. So my question here is, what's wrong with our current health care system? And I think it's basically the cost aspect of it, but we'll let you comment on that. That needs to be fixed, and do you have some suggestions on fixing it? So who's next, Trey? Well, let's try.